What is the meaning of physics? Does it mean how we have understood this universe? Or what have been taught by the universities around the world? Or what your favorite physicists have said about this nature? If yes is your response to any of these options and you don't want to hear anyone speaking against your ideologies, and please skip this video right away, because that's what I'm going to do here. If you dare to challenge and open to hear new possibilities in physics, you are at the right place. Fasten your seatbelt. We are going to dive into the heart of modern physics. Welcome to my channel, In Search of Wisdom. Let me start the video with a question. Do we really need an infinite amount of energy in order to reach the speed of light? I don't think so. Look, if there's a planet X, the gravitational force of which is 1,000,000 times greater than of Earth, if I or something else free fall on the planet from the distance h, in 31st second I would have reached the speed of light. To be precise, I would have exceeded the speed of light by then. The key here is the lower the gravitational force of a planet, the longer the distance of free fall, and vice versa. In other words, I just need some extra time in order to achieve this exact result on a planet that has lower gravitational force than planet X, and less time if the gravity of the planet is greater than planet X. The interesting point of this thought experiment is I'm not required to provide any extra energy in order to achieve this speed of light. Instead, it's just a matter of time and the distance of free fall. Here's another thought experiment. From 2022, I traveled 35 years ahead in time to 2057. I saw an old man there on a stage giving a lecture. So I sat on an empty chair, was there listening to his talk. While the audience were enjoying the dialogue, we heard gunfire from somewhere around the place. So everyone started to run here and there out of fear and panic. When I turned to the stage, I saw the old man bleeding all over his body. And in a while, the man dead on the stage itself. Wait, this is not the end yet. The interesting part of the story is the man dead on the stage was the future version of myself. When I saw this incident, I started to wonder, and dozens of questions were arising in my mind. Like, if that was me, who am I? How many versions of me are there in total? What is the key to my personal identity? If the key is the body or the mind, how other versions of me can be me? Because I have the body and the mind within this me. And all other versions of me don't have this body and this mind per se. Perhaps something similar to this body and the mind. Regardless of this fact, if all those versions are me, can the key to personal identity be duplicated? If the key is the experience, how other versions of me can be me? Because none of them have the experience that I have. If the key is the soul, how those versions can be me while I have the soul within this me per se? If all those versions are me, how am I still alive even after that version of me is dead? This confusing theory of special relativity directly implies that my life is merely deterministic, and I have no choice or control over my actions. If so, who determined my life in such a perfect way? What about free will then? So forth and so on. Are these questions and thought experiments good enough to prove the fallacy of special relativity? Well, as far as I am concerned, these arguments are strong enough to satisfy me to accept the notion. Frankly speaking, after seeing all these contradictions of relativity, I'm not ready to accept either of the theories of relativity to be scientific. Instead, I see them as a catastrophe that has trapped the modern science especially modern physics, for more than a century. By the way, is there any practical evidence to prove special relativity wrong? Well, there are millions of evidence to prove that. For an example, here's a bulb. When I throw this up and catch, this is a perfect experiment to do so. Furthermore, each and everything related to motion in our day-to-day lives also are concrete evidence to convince us to conclude the argument in favor of the notion. In case, if you have hardship to understand the logic behind suggesting all these things as experimental evidence to prove the nullity of special relativity, I can help you with that. I have talked about all these things and much more in a research article with detailed explanations. If you wish, you can check it out. The link is below in the description box. Yes, I can guess what many of you have in mind right now. You may think that, why should we read your article? Because there were thousands of researchers throughout the century who tried to challenge Dr. Einstein and prove his theories wrong. And clearly, none of them could succeed. Yeah, it's, for me, a fair concern. Therefore, I have decided to make my paper worth reading either way, if the claims of my article are correct. There you go. You will learn something from reading it. In case, if I was wrong with my claims and arguments, still, there is a way how you can turn that opportunity into something beneficial. I have come up with 4 different paradoxes of special relativity in that paper. The first person who manages to prove I'm wrong with logical and compiled scientific evidence will be rewarded $10,000. Why 10? Let's make it 20. So $20,000 to the first person who prove I'm wrong with logic and scientific evidence. Is that fair enough? So go ahead and prove I'm wrong.